Hello everybody, this is Tom. I'm in Atkinson, North Carolina, and my farm is Whistle Stop Wonderland. When I first got here, this was just a big field that was heavily compacted and had a lot of trees sprouting up. It had been bush hogged, so they're doing multiple sprouts from the cutting that they did, the little stump that's down there. So there's a lot of trees, and it's just basically a forgotten and abused farm field. And what I did was come in and I put a swale at the bottom of the incline here, and there's furrows that extend to catch water. So we're going to slow it, sink it, and store it. And so we've got the water that comes down the hill here after getting in the furrows, anything that runs off, and it comes down the swale all the way into the pond here. And this is 1 degree off, so this is a keyline contour swale. And it comes down, goes right into this pond here. And this is basically a wildlife habitat that we're installing. Kind of my hunting area is back here for deer season, so I just thought this would be a nice spot. We've got some turkeys that are nesting in our field over here in the back section. But this is just one. We've got 9 acres altogether, and I think this is about an acre and a half or so. So what I'm doing right now is we just dug this pond and about a month ago or so, and we don't have any vegetation around it. So what I've been doing is taking a little bit of compost and some of the topsoil here and just kind of smashing it into the sides here and there. It's rained a few times since then, so a lot of it's gone into the water already. But I'm putting out seeds for cattails. So I just thought it would be cool to get a video of this, because I've got a big handful all fluffed up, and I'm gonna throw it in the air and see how it disperses. But you can see I've already done a little bit, and the wind's pushing it to the other side. And that's actually how the ecology works with this. The function of this plant when it seeds and reproduces is to create these little aerial seeds that blow in the wind, and when they hit the water, they go to the shoreline, and that's how they start to germinate, is to get into that riparian zone with the wind. The wind pushes them into the riparian zone in the banks, and then they lodge into the bank and start to sprout. So hopefully that's how this is going to work. That's how it's supposed to work. But again, without the proper biology in the soil, none of this works. So it's probably better to wait and do this like maybe the second year or so, and let the organic matter from around the area get into the pond, and also animals come in and put manure around the edges. And so that's really how the ecology works around the pond, is the animals and the plants and everything works together to build the fertility. But if we just dig a pond and all we've got is parent material, these things aren't going to germinate. So but they will stay in the soil a lot of times until because they're like little space capsules, really, the seeds that we accumulate and the plants grow. So these little spaceships are just going to sit there until the organic matter concentrations are right, or the biology is right, that trigger their conditions. All the seeds have different conditions, so once the seeds meet their conditions, then they'll germinate, but they'll sit there a lot of times until then. Some will rot, some will get eaten, so that's just the cycles of life, nutrient cycling. But what I'm trying to do here, and you guys can see, is I've already got some compost down here, and I've sprinkled a lot of seeds. These are all cultivated varieties like buckwheat, and that's Japanese buckwheat, so it's got a red flower to it. It's going to be beautiful. And there's also a lot of mustards down here, early succession plants, that kind of thing. A lot of clover in here as well. I wanted to get some legumes because we all know we need our green manures. So, but just a lot of variety down here. Most of the things down here we can eat. And I've also made where the tire tracks were for the tractor. This is all the fill dirt here. So I took the fill dirt out and used the tractor, actually mounted it up here first. And then with the excavator, I just mounted it and then used the tractor. We have a relative that let us loan it, thank goodness, because it would have been really expensive if we hadn't done this. It was 2 weeks total, and for 2 ponds. I dug 2 ponds, not just one. But then where the tractor tires are, there's a lot of compaction, and so, you know, it's tough to grow good things when you got compaction. So what I did was just till in some compost and put just a sprinkle of wood chips on top that had been aged, so they don't have enzymes in them anymore. Aged 4 months. Most of it was pine, conifer, so you know how that goes. It's got the tannins in it. that we need to leach out and get the biology, the bacteria eating it before we actually use it. So, but this was all well aged, and you can see it's growing absolutely fabulously. So we have had some good rain lately though, and a lot of deer pressure, but they seem to be leaving the sprouts alone and going over in the furrows. I planted a whole lot of sunflowers and different types of gourds, squashes, green striped cushaw, pumpkins, that kind of stuff. But they are just loving that. They're loving the pumpkins and green striped cushaws. We were kind of hoping to get some out of it, but this is all organic matter horse manure we put in that was not organic horse manure. So we actually were not really interested in eating from this field this year. We're going to let the biology break that down, and then once the organic matter fills the furrows, then we start using extracts, and then that's when we're compost extracts, and that's when we're going to plant the seeds that we're actually going to eat from. But right now it's basically just getting plants into the soil that are multi-purpose, so we can use them for fodder to feed our animals. We've got chickens, so they love brassicas plants. So there's lots of kale in here, lots of cabbages, but also buckwheat, because it'll grow pretty much anywhere, man. You don't have to have a lot of biology to get buckwheat to grow. I've noticed that, like, every time I throw it out, like buckets full of 100 different kinds of seeds, buckwheat's the one that comes up, man. It comes up first, and it comes up really strong. And it seeds, so it'll seed itself and keep going. And that by that time, the organic matter's in the soil, usually, you know, from other plants and things that have died, and just put leaves and whatnot into the soil that have been broken down, and that builds up, and that's actually how the plants eat. The organisms eat that and feed it to the plants. So, but you guys can see, man, I'm pretty stoked. The plants, what I'm doing here, instead of broad forking this, because it's a lot of work to broad fork 9 acres, I'm just planting things to do it for me. And that's the purpose of these early succession plants, regenerative plants, biodynamic plants, you know, call them what you want to. But it's basically just a means of early succession or first succession plants that'll grow with very little biology in the soil, very little organic matter, and that's how the earth evolved, and that's their function. So it just so happens that some of them, a lot of them actually, are edible to us and to our animals, which is wonderful, because it's always nice to be able to grow stuff when you move some dirt around, right? But what I'm going to do right now is toss out this cattail as the climax of my video. It's a very exciting moment, and I've got a whole bunch of these too. We stopped along the side of the road and found some native ones. These are the not the broadleaf, but the thin ones, I believe, are the native ones, and that's what we've got. So let's see if this works here. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Awesome! That was a good toss. Right on the bank. Look at that. That's perfect. Right on the bank. All right, I've already got some in the water, and like I said, the wind pushed them all down there. So I'm trying to actually get them around the bank now and just get them dispersed evenly for the most part. And they may not grow, you know, because as you can see, most of it's parent material right now. I've got to take the dark soil that has organic matter in it and stomp into that layer around the edges, and hope the rain doesn't push it down. Without fungi in the soil and without roots, it's very easy for rain to just erode soil that's just sitting there on the bank, create little channels as it's doing. And you guys can see all the little channels like at the end of the swale. And it just carries that soil down with it and builds it up and reforms the pond, basically. This pond actually had a huge mound in the middle where I dug 2 different places deeper. And since then, the rain has pushed it to where it's basically just leveled out now. I thought that was pretty interesting. So they were about, I want to say 6 feet deep, somewhere around in there. Just a little wildlife watering spot is all we were going for. But you guys can see maybe there's a dark line around the base here, and that's that's basically the water line, but it's also a lot of the organic matter that's been in the water that's already accumulating, forming a membrane around the outside, and that's how ponds seal themselves naturally. So that's the ultimate goal. I'd like to get some ducks in here because they have better bacteria in their feces, and also pigs, but I'm not into the whole using pig manure, throwing it in and then having a stench come, and all the things associated with that. There's a funkiness stage when you use pigs, and we don't really want to have that. So ducks, I think, are going to be the best option, and that's what we're moving towards now. So just saying hi, guys, letting you guys know what's going on here at Whistle Stop Wonderland, Atkinson, North Carolina. We got some stuff going on. We're making it happen. We're not sitting still. These hands are not idle. They are moving. All right, guys, hope you're having a great day. Live regeneratively, grow abundantly, and learn daily. All those things. Peace.